Okay, let's dive right into this. Have you ever considered that a simple story about a kid playing backyard baseball could hold absolutely profound, game-changing lessons for high-level business professionals? Well, in today's Explainer, we're looking at exactly that. We are going to unpack a classic tale about a boy and a ninja, and we're going to translate it into a strategic masterclass on discipline, resource management, and balance for the boardroom. Let's get started.
Section 1. The frustration of failure.
So, to really get this, picture the scene. It's evening, and a young boy named Kenichi has just completely collapsed on the grass. He is totally exhausted from failing over and over to perfect his baseball swing. He tosses his bat aside and just groans, "It's no use. I'll never get the hang of this. I'm going to strike out tomorrow, and Yumeko-chan is going to think I'm a total loser." You can literally hear the sheer exhaustion and panic in his voice, right? He's completely paralyzed by the fear of stakeholder judgment. Yumeko-chan in this scenario perfectly represents that highly critical client, or maybe the demanding board of directors just looking on and evaluating his every single move.
Now, reflect on this for a second. Have you ever felt exactly this way before a major product launch or a critical client pitch? I mean, we've all been there. You're grinding away, relying on brute force panic without a clear strategy. You're feeling that immense, crushing weight of performance anxiety, convinced that if you just swing harder, if you just stay at the office for 3 more hours, you'll eventually hit the ball. But as we're about to see, raw panic is actually the enemy of execution.
Moving on to Section 2, a master's perspective.
Just as Kenichi hits absolute rock bottom, a shadow drops silently from the oak tree above. It's Ninja Hattori in his immaculate blue robes, and he brings this completely different, calming energy to the yard. Think about the stark contrast between these two approaches. On one side, we've got Kenichi's wild panic, his reliance on brute strength, and his worry about the crowd. On the exact opposite side, we have Hattori's approach: steady focus, absolute patience, and finding the center of balance. It's a massive shift in mindset. When we face huge business challenges, our default is so often Kenichi's panic. But Hattori is here to show us exactly why trying harder and forcing the issue isn't always the solution.
Hattori looks down at his frustrated, exhausted student and delivers this incredibly powerful piece of wisdom. He says, "A true ninja knows that mastery does not come from a single day's frustration, but from patience and steady focus." What a grounding statement. True professional mastery in literally any field just doesn't come from a panicked all-nighter right before a deadline. It requires a long-term commitment. It requires cultivating a really steady, unwavering focus rather than just riding that emotional roller coaster of daily setbacks and frustrations.
Section 3. Finding perfect equilibrium.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how Hattori demonstrates his point. He doesn't just lecture the kid. He reaches into his pouch and pulls out a small traditional wooden spinning top. With just a tiny flick of his wrist, he launches it high into the air. Then, in a blur of motion so fast it's almost invisible, he draws a wooden training sword and taps the top so precisely that it lands right on the very edge of Kenichi's discarded baseball bat, and it just stays there, spinning flawlessly in the evening air. It is this mesmerizing, brilliant display of control.
Hattori calls this the ninja art perfect equilibrium. This is all about watching the target and finding the exact center of balance, rather than relying on raw strength. So, let's translate that directly to your business strategy. I mean, how often do we try to just muscle our way through a really complex logistical problem? Perfect equilibrium means taking a step back, identifying the exact center of the issue, and applying targeted, intelligent leverage instead of just throwing endless work hours at the wall.
So let me ask you this. Are you relying on brute strength and late nights, or are you finding the exact center of balance in your projects? This is such a vital question to ask yourself when it comes to your own work-life balance and how you allocate your team's resources. If your team is perpetually burning out, well, you're relying on strength. But if you're aligning your resources precisely with the project's core needs, you are operating with perfect equilibrium.
Section 4. Tuning out the noise. After his demonstration, Hattori hands the bat back to Kenichi, and he gives him this precise, incredibly replicable mental framework. Step 1, do not think about the crowd. Step 2, do not think about the pressure. And step 3, focus on the center of the ball. This brilliantly illustrates an absolutely foolproof method for execution. It's an active process of elimination. You simply cannot achieve steady focus until you intentionally strip away all those external noisy distractions that are totally clouding your judgment.
When we map this allegory directly to the boardroom, it's actually uncanny. The crowd represents the constant, chaotic noise of your industry competitors. You have to ignore them when it's your time at bat.
The pressure is the fear of Yamakuta-chan, meaning client disapproval or maybe a board rejection. You have to shut that fear out entirely. So the absolute most crucial point is that final step, locking onto the center of the ball, which is your core strategic objective. That is exactly where 100% of your mental energy needs to reside.
Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds. The winning swing. So, we've seen the struggle, we've absorbed the master's framework, and now it is time for execution. Armed with this disciplined mindset, Kenichi steps up to the plate. He takes a really deep breath. He mimics Hattori's calm, grounded posture. Hattori tosses the ball, and Kenichi swings, but not with that wild, flailing panic from earlier. No, he swings with steady, deliberate focus. And crack! The ball soars straight into the evening sky and easily clears the backyard fence. It is a stunning home run, and it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that disciplined, balanced execution easily and always trumps panicked effort.
Kenichi's eyes go super wide with joy and he turns around to celebrate with his teacher. But the master is gone. The yard is completely empty. All that remains is just the faint rustle of the tree leaves and this cheerful little voice echoing softly into the night from the roof.
Nin!
The master vanishes because his job is officially done. The lesson has been fully, completely internalized by the student.
Which brings us to a final provocative thought. Tomorrow, when you face your absolute biggest professional challenges, will you swing with wild panic or steady focus? When you walk into your next high-stakes pitch, remember the way of the ninja bat. Do not let the pressure of the crowd ruin your form. Find your perfect equilibrium, lock on to the center of your strategic objective, and swing with steady focus. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today, and I really hope this empowers you to master your next big project.